Man, they got me fired up, Jack. Hold on. Man, listen, that motherfucking whiskey, that Canadian whiskey kick in, goddamn it. And I ain't Canadian or nothing, but when that shit kick in, goddamn it, I get fired up. Shit. Fuck all that. They didn't ride for her. You know, and they should have rolled for her. You know what I'm saying? I feel like they should have rolled for that lady, man. Niggas should have got out there and protesters and or that AKA chick that the nigga bust up in there and killed her. There ain't nobody ride for her though. Niggas jealous of her because she a fucking college student. That's the truth of it. She's college. She graduated from college. They don't like that. They don't like educated black folks. They don't like black folks out here motherfucking working and doing what they supposed to do. You a threat. We don't like that. So we ain't gonna stand up for you. But we'll stand up for a fucking crackhead in Michigan some motherfucking where. A fucking dope fiend. We'll stand up for him. Right. The fuck out of here. Unfucking believable. Am I lying? Shit. Stand up for a fucking dope fiend. And then sit up there and make a fucking statue. Black folks should be embarrassed. You made a statue of a fucking crackhead. That's what you did. And you know what? Not long after they put the statue up, they were shooting over there. Did you know that? Guess what color the people was that was shooting? Look it up on YouTube right now. Or whenever you get a minute. This was not long after they put the hold on. Not long after they put the statue up in Michigan, wherever the fuck that shit happened. They was over there shooting. It's on YouTube. I saw it. Sit up here and tear the whole fucking country down over a crackhead. What the fuck? Black people. And then they're gonna sit up there and act like they doing something righteous. Man, get your stupid ass out of here. The fuck is wrong with you? A fucking dope fiend who sit up there and held a pistol to a pregnant woman. But when Candace come out and say it, she the enemy. She bad. But them is facts though. But she bad. She not with us. She hate black people. Get the fuck out of here. I'm gonna keep riding for motherfuckers just like her because she on some real shit. These motherfuckers ain't on nothing. Sitting up in here. No, I ain't canceled. I sent the code out. No, I ain't canceled. I don't give a fuck. It's my monologue. Because that really grinds my fucking gears. Because they sit up there and ride it all that time. They tore up Chicago and everywhere else to the point that motherfuckers couldn't go get nothing. You had to go a town over to go get shit behind a fucking crackhead because they were so upset with the cop. They were so hurt. Oh, well, it's racism. They're racist. The police are so racist. And the minute some shit happened to you or your people, you calling them same racist ass police. Get your stupid ass the fuck out of here. That's your first line of defense from these other niggas that's looking to come bust up in your shit. Because let's just be real. It ain't white people busting up in your fucking house or carjacking you or drive-by shooting on your block. Them ain't white people. They're not coming to the West Side to drive-by shoot on your fucking block. Let's just be real about it. We have some type of complex where we don't like to deal with reality. We like to tiptoe around it and act like it ain't that bad. Oh, well, racism is way worse because white people, racism and all this other bullshit. Man, I ain't trying to hear that. The fuck, where everybody at? I'm sending the code out. Yep says she out. So I just leave really me, Will, and Alicia. Well, if they sleep, then they sleep. Ain't nothing I can do about it. I tell you what, by the time I get done with this, if ain't nobody on, then I'm gonna call it one too. Shit. But I'm gonna say my motherfucking piece. God damn it. Because, huh? Johnny ain't pop back. Hold on, let me send him the code. Shit. I have to send him the code individually because he don't check the the group chat. So I sent it to him. But I ain't trying to hear that shit. That pissed me the fuck off because it's like it's we pick and choose who we ride for. And usually the motherfuckers that we pick is the motherfuckers that's on TV. That's who we pick. If TV say, well, so-and-so was a racist cop and you should be mad, then that's what we gonna do. What the fuck? Alicia's saying it ain't coming through. I'm steady sending the code. How many times I gotta send the code? I'm gonna send it again. Copy invitation link. I'm gonna send it for the 15th time. Okay, there it is. I don't know if because she at work or what, but it ain't, she not getting it. But that's all I'm saying is that, you know, it's just like with hold on. No code. I'm damn. Hold on. I'm steady sending the damn code. I done sent it about 10 times. Copy invitation. Let's try it this way. Let's see if that does it. Because ain't nobody popped in. Maybe they wasn't getting the code like Alicia wasn't getting the code. I don't know. But yeah, we some fucking hypocrites, and I don't like that shit. If you're gonna ride, we supposed to be so black and so together, and black people this, black people that, but we pick and choose, and I don't like that. We want to ride for the fucking drug dealers and talk about, oh, he getting his life together. Oh man, well, he changed. But we don't say nothing for the working man that fell victim to one of these gangbangers. We don't say nothing about him. Nothing. Nothing. We act like it don't even fucking happen. This person's dead. There ain't no GoFundMe floating around for them. There ain't no fucking big media campaign for them. That lady got killed 4:30 in the morning and they still ain't found who the fuck killed her. And personally, I think it was the nigga that she was with, or he paid somebody to kill her. And I've been saying that because he's sitting up there, you don't have no clue as to what happened with your woman. No clue. Yeah, he did. And it was probably to get the fucking insurance money. How many times we didn't seen that? And you that thirsty for a fucking dollar. Now they done took that all out the media. You don't hear about it no more, but it fucked with me because I remember this shit. Here, a woman, a black business owner in a black neighborhood got killed 4:30 in the morning, and black folks didn't stand up and do a goddamn thing. I got a problem with that. You say what? Right. Right. They didn't do shit about that. That fucking dude, this guy, he said he was doing the dance shit, wasn't he? Hold on, Lisa. He was doing the dance shit. Black folks didn't do a motherfucking thing. This dude got killed in Chicago, in a black neighborhood. Black folks didn't do shit. Why not? Why didn't they do that? Where was the protest? Where was the riot? Nothing fucking happened. Nothing. Why not? Why do you pick and choose who you go out there for? I don't get it. So you basically telling me if you're a decent motherfucker, then black folks ain't gonna have your back. If I'm a shitbag, then they'll go and tear the fucking town down for me. So if I go sell drugs or arm rob people or carjack people, and I just so happen to get my ass whooped by the police, then black folks are gonna stand up for me. That's what you're telling me. Because that's what it looked like. No, fuck. No, that's what's happening. But if I'm a decent human being and I go to work or I own a business in a black neighborhood and I fall victim to one of these ignorant ass niggas, then black folks ain't gonna say shit. They ain't gonna do nothing. No riot, no protest, no picketing, nothing. But what the fuck? Nothing? Why not? I don't fucking get it. I don't get it. It's not right. It's not right. I'm sorry, I done went on a tantrum. No, fuck that. I'm not sorry. I'm not sorry. I went on a tantrum because that's the way I felt. Shit. And this Canadian whiskey is something else.
Yeah, it's talking to you.
But that's the way I feel.
I mean, you're entitled to your feeling.
Because that's what's happening. I'm not.
I don't think it's necessary that. I don't think that it's necessarily what's happening. Like I can speak for myself and some of the organizations that I work with in Chicago, like legit in Chicago. They're in the communities trying to effectively change. Like who's boycott? Like I think we don't agree on a lot of stuff. I think we've agreed on two things. One of which is that collectively we're tired of fucking picketing. Like we're tired of marching. It's not effective. It has not gotten us anywhere. So what needs to be done is like you have to get on the ground and do the work. And there are a lot of people in the communities that are doing the work. You don't hear about them, and they're not made known. But like I said, the job that I worked in Chicago, I worked with a lot of grassroots organizations that, walk the communities, that try to offer things in the community, like really work with communities to make communities safer, to prevent food deserts, like a litany of things that you just don't know about because they're not advertised as much. So I don't think that you're necessarily like, you're not getting you may not see the outrage, but people are tired of living like that. People are tired of what's going on in those neighborhoods. And effectively, there are neighborhoods. So we have to go in there and we have to change those neighborhoods. And again, you're not going to see, the news is not like, even when you look at the media and you talk about like gang violence and anything that's going on to prevent it, you never see us. It always looks like somebody that looks like other than us. And then we're the recipients of help, as opposed to if there's actually a lot of people, Black and brown people, that are actually out here doing the work with these organizations, and they're effective. Like I know ex-gang members, I know brothers that have been in prison, like out here talking to these brothers about going to prison, about staying in the right path, like actually becoming like, what do you call those? We used to be in college, well, mentors, but remember we used to be in college and used to have the dorm monitor with the RAs. So I know some ex-gang, like some real like dudes you didn't want to play with, like actually becoming the people that once these young men decide they don't want to be part of their life, they're actually monitoring these houses, making them come in on time, checking them, like, because it's going to take those kind of people to reach those kind of people. Like you ain't gonna be, if you a thug, you ain't gonna be scared of nobody a straight lace. But if you got somebody that's coming from where you went, or they've been in prison or whatever, you gonna respect him more. So you have these men that have been to prison, or that have done things, and now they're like, this ain't what I want for you. Let me show you something different. And so effectively you have these Black men and brown men that are doing stuff like with these young men to kind of guide them like into doing something better, like keeping them off the streets, and even like being able to keep up with them in places that not normal people, but people who are from the streets or who don't do those kind of things. Like if you're known, then where these young men are, where they hang, those kind of things. And so you're able to pull them out of there. So you do have a lot of people that are doing those things, but it's not going to be advertised because what the perception is that we don't have control of our communities. And kind of just what you said, like there's all this outrage for when white folks kill us, but there's nothing being done about us, and it's just not that. And I'm speaking from personal experience. I'm speaking from working with some of these a lot of these organizations. In my job, I was a political supervisor, but I did a lot of grassroots work. I was on 63rd and Ashland and 63rd and Racine a lot. I used to walk up and down 63rd and Fairfield, meeting the neighbors and going into these stores. So we did a lot of, like, when you talk about stuff, it's not advertised, but people are really wanting to reclaim their communities and wanting to to get it back to where it's supposed to be. And they're small, they're on a smaller scale because you're talking about people from the community. But I mean, how dope is that? The people from the, and I'm not talking about even like people my age, you talking about young guys, you talking about older people, like people my mama's age, like Miss Pat, she used to be a school teacher. She literally goes out there and she's right on 63rd and Racine with us. Like she has a daughter that's in college. Her daughter's out there, you know, doing the same thing. So you're creating a generation of people that really care, but you just don't, you know, we've been to meetings with the police station, just how to effectively communicate with, like, just a lot of different things. So that you don't hear about them because you just don't. And it's really not newsworthy. So, you know, even when we look at the news and what they talk about, we actually really have to look at what makes sense and what lens are they looking at it from, because they'll show a lens to sell a story. But if we step back and look at the full thing, there's a whole nother story that's not being told. And there's circumstances and there are other people involved that are actually trying to do better. And I don't think that that's just exclusively to a handful of Black folks or a handful of brown folks. I think that people are effectively looking to make change, and it's just not on a big enough scale so that people can actually, well, not only in a big enough scale, but people, that ain't what people want to report on. If you think about the news and what they report on a lot of devastation. It's always a lot of destruction, disaster, devastation. You very rarely hear anything or feel good. Anything, Black or white, they don't talk about that shit. They talk about destruction. They talk about death. They talk about who got killed, who got murdered. It's nothing positive. They talk about COVID. They talk about how many people died. Like, when you get through with the news, you're fucking depressed because nothing good is coming from the news. Nothing.
I don't get that. You know, it's so funny. My wife says that all the time. Don't like me watching the news. But yeah. I watch it to keep in tune with what's really going on out here, because, you know, I don't think the news is that far off with their stories, because, like I say, anybody that's living in these neighborhoods, we know what could go down and what has went down. So yeah, I need to stay in tune in that. I need to always be on my P's and Q's as a man, as an adult, as to what is going down in these areas. I need to know that, because I'm moving through these areas, you know, when I'm going to play softball or whatever it is I'm going to do. So I need to stay in tune. You know, I need not forget as to, you know, like when I actually lived on the West Side, it was fucked up then. It was still guns on the street then. Motherfuckers were still getting shot in the 90s. It wasn't as much as it is now, but it was still happening. Black folks were still killing Black folks in the 90s, in the 80s, in the 70s, far back as you want to go. So I need to stay in tune with that so I can keep my head in order. Now, it'd be great if I can, it'd be great if I could live in a Black neighborhood and feel 100% safe, but the reality is I can't. I cannot. I cannot afford to think that way. You know what I'm saying? Because the minute I do, now here I done became victim of some shit, and my people ain't even gonna stand up and say, "Oh man, he was a decent guy, you know, man, you know, he shouldn't have happened." They ain't gonna do none of that. But if I was some shitbird out here selling dope to Black folks, or murdering Black folks, or gang banging, or any of that, they'll come and ride for me. They'll talk about how good of a person I was. We asshole backwards. Now, like I said, I'm not taking anything away from the grassroots organizations, because I know for a fact those exist. Those do exist, you know, but we know that the emptiest can make the loudest noise. So the shit that's gonna get the pub is these nothing motherfuckers that's out here tearing the streets
but I don't think it's, but if you're really fair about it, it's not just nothing motherfuckers. It's anything that's negative, because you know you're when you say drug dealers, the first thing that people think is a Black person. Drug dealers can be white. White people actually the biggest drug dealers. When you talk about anything that's negative press, it's on the news. And your wife is right. Like, I remember when the COVID started, I would watch, and I like news. Like, I really like news. Like, I wake up to the news and I go to sleep to the news. Right. And what I noticed that when COVID came out, I was watching the news all day long. Like, I was watching it at work. Like, I was stuck to the TV. And what I started, it started giving me anxiety, because they were always talking about the death count of COVID. And for me, I was an essential worker. So I not only did like it was not that many of us that did that. And so you had, a handful of people that was doing this when we really didn't know how to protect yourself. There was no vaccine, not that I took the vaccine, but no vaccine. There was really nothing. So you watch all this stuff, and I pulled myself away from it. So what I started doing was I watched the news one week and then I would stop watching it. Mm-hmm. And that helped me. I have my mother right now, she works from home. My mother will watch the news. She gets the Neighbors app. She gets the Ring app. So she gets some kind of news, something. All this shit comes on her phone. She's constantly telling me where they shooting at, who got shot, shooting on Expressway. And I had to tell them, like, you're traumatizing yourself because you're not even in those places, but you're reading all this bad shit. You're reading bad shit 24 hours a day. How can you not feel anxious? Like, how can you not feel anxiety? How can you not feel fearful if this is what you do day to day is going to affect you, whether we know it or not. So like, even with the news, I have learned to like watch it in increments, and then I pull myself away from it. And I try to look at the bigger picture because there's always something more going on to the story than what they report. And they only report bad shit. Like, how many times do you hear the news talking about something good? Like, and I'm not talking about like celebrity good, but I'm talking about like on a smaller scale neighborhood, Chicago, they got stuff going. Like, it's a lot of good things that happen in Chicago. You don't hear about none of that. None of it.
That's not true. That's not true. No, that's not true. They will throw a segment.
What was the last thing?
Well, I'll tell you what. Matter of fact, we just speaking about mentorship programs, and they just had one on. It was either Saturday. I think it was Saturday, and I was looking at this, and it tied in with the kid that just got shot in Millennium Park. It was a 16-year-old kid that got shot. He was part of a mentorship program. And the guy spoke out about him, and I can't remember what the guy was saying, but I knew that the guy was his personal mentor. My wife told me about this guy, and I'm like, oh, okay, cool. So this guy had he was doing the mentorship thing with the guy, but he had one toe in the streets too. So, but yeah, they had him out there. They had the ECCSC, and I can't stand them motherfuckers, but they had them niggas out there too. I don't know if you ever heard of them or okay, fuck them. But anyway,
who are they?
Okay, this is okay. See, this is the problem I got with these niggas. Okay, ECSC is ex-cons for community change or some shit like that. So basically, all these niggas is all ex-cons, and now they out in the streets trying to rehab shit, right? But you should, because you are part of the problem. You were the niggas that was out here doing the same shit that these new niggas is doing and your time. So that's your debt to society. You should be out there trying to help these youth because the rest of us got fucking jobs. The rest of us got jobs and careers and shit that we need to go to every day that wasn't a part of the streets that we need to do to feed our families. You nothing ass niggas that's riding around with your t-shirts and your cars and all this bullshit. Yes, you need to be out there trying to help these nothing ass kids because y'all was them nothing ass kids 20 years ago. That did 20 years in prison, probably for killing another Black person. So yes, you need to be out there. That's your debt to society. The same society that you helped tear up. You contributed to the shit that we got going on now. So I have no empathy for you niggas. Fuck y'all. Straight up. Because it's motherfuckers like that I had to worry about, or that my father or my mother had to worry about. Or my sister, well, she was different age, but that honest Black people had to worry about. You know what I'm saying? So nah, them niggas, I ain't rocking with them niggas. They want to poke their chest out like they doing a good thing. Man, fuck y'all niggas, man. Y'all niggas help this shit. You know what I'm saying? Y'all was the ones that made this shit what it is today. It wasn't a dude working at Jewel. It wasn't.
But even saying that is like, I don't think that's even a fair statement because when you talk about that, somebody raised them like that. Like somebody has some responsibility of raising folks like that.
Okay, but you could be raised one way and turn out something else. But you do have a choice. When you walk outside,
what I'm saying to you is that just like you talk about them, those people having responsibility, those other people that are raising I mean, because and that's not to say that everybody who behaves like that their parents didn't raise them, but you see, I mean, you on social media, you see these people all the time, pants hanging out their ass, little girls twerking. You know, they know the latest shit, but they don't know how to spell their name. They're not teaching the manners. So that's being culpable. I mean, like that's real talk. Like you see this shit, like little boys dancing up on little girls. Like never in my life at 4 and 5 years old that shit ever been acceptable.
Absolutely not.
Like it just wasn't bad. Like I remember growing up, and even when I raised my daughter, you don't sit on grown men's laps. I didn't allow my daughter to sit on her father's lap, and not because I thought he was going to do something strange to her, but I didn't even want her to even think that sitting on a grown man's lap was appropriate, because there are crazy ass, nasty ass men that are even related to you. So you don't even want to do that. Like I remember telling my ex-husband, I think my daughter was like maybe 2. And he had company. It was a couple of guys he was really close with. They were downstairs in the living room. So my daughter came down in her nightgown was to her knees. I made her go upstairs and put some clothes on.
Exactly.
And he couldn't understand why. And I had to explain to him, like, because even though she's a little girl, and I don't think they were looking at her, but you don't even want her to get comfortable with presenting herself to any man that is not her father or her brother looking like that, because as she gets older, she's going to develop, and men are going, like, the reality of it is, like, whether it's appropriate or not, men will look at you when you start to develop. So you don't even want to start a habit like that. Like, so they're not teaching their daughters that. They're not even teaching their sons that. Like, anything is okay. You can say anything, you can do anything. Don't say nothing to my kids. My kids can disrespect you. You will come and cut somebody out about your kids' bad behavior. So all that shit makes you comfortable, because what you're teaching your child is that you don't have to respect shit.
Right.
And that, don't you think that they're gonna go out in this world and not respect shit?
Mm-hmm.
So it's not them, it's you, because you've given them the impression that they can, and that kind of goes with what we said earlier. You can stomp around in this world, and when you don't get your way, you can act a fool, tear up some shit, because you've been taught that that's how you get things. And we see it all the time. Even old ass people like us, you see them in the doctor's office or in a store somewhere, they don't get what they want. They don't talk like they have sense. They're in there clowning, hollering, acting a fool, because they think that the louder they get, the ornerier they get, the bigger they swell up, they're going to get what they want. And more times than not, they do. So this is what we're teaching. This is what we're teaching our children. So we become culpable in their behavior, because we're teaching them that this shit is okay. Instead of beating their ass, I remember, like, wherever you cut up is where you got your ass whooped, and wasn't nobody sorry about it. Like, if you want to act up out the street on 79th Street, that's just where you got your ass whooped. Well, no, wait till we get home. I'm gonna beat your ass the way you acting up, and I dare somebody to say something.
But see, that teaches the kids, hey, look, that teaches the kid discipline. And long story short, it's because, hey, if I fuck up in here, I'm gonna get a whooping. Okay.
Yeah.
And see, but if you don't do that, and and you and all this other stuff, then the kid is just gonna run amok. And so this is what we have now. And then the mother or the father, whoever the fuck it is, gonna stand up and say, oh, my kid, he used to sing in the choir. This motherfucker that went and shot up 10 people. Oh, he's a good kid. The matter of fact, the mother of the nigga, the Salvador nigga in Texas, she stood up and said that he never showed no signs of violence. Nigga, are you serious? He just shot up 20.
Yeah, she damn serious.
He shot up 20 kids.
But they equate temper tantrums to not being violent. If you look at them, if you look at like white folk, and I don't care, like my grandma was like, he's not white, he's white presenting. And the most Mexicans that look like that consider themselves white. So I'm just gonna say it's a white boy, just for argument's sake. So he's white presenting. And so when they don't get their way, they throw tantrums, they yell, they kick, they scream, they throw shit. All of that shit is violent, right?
Yes.
But it's so normal to them. It's so normal to the mother and to the family that they don't even see that shit. And like, that's a storm. Down, and what you do is holler, you hate me or tell me to shut up or start throwing shit, I'm gonna snatch a knot in your ass. Because when you don't, as they get older, the behaviors have, like, he has had to have exhibited something.
Yeah,
Like,
he
even if
did.
it's slamming doors and cussing you out, he's done something to show you that he's aggressive.
But
You just
ignored
ain't paid attention to it because you think that, oh, that's my son. He always do that shit. That shit is not normal. That shit is not like slamming doors. Like, I'm 47 years old. I couldn't slam my door with my mom. She'll take it off the hinges. Like, you just can't do that. But they do stuff like, I remember growing up, my mother didn't repeat herself. Like, they didn't repeat. They said it once, and the next time they said it, you was gonna feel. We talking to them, we count down to them, we get down to their level, and I'm all for like enabling children to feel like, or give them the empower them to know that they have the decision to say yes or no, or to use their words and express how they feel. Like, I'm all for that. But if I say, and I used to tell my children this all the time, if I say do something, if you have a problem with it, we can talk about it. But after you do what I said do. And it's a way that you talk to me. Like, you're not gonna just tell me why you ain't gonna do what you, because I'm gonna slap you. But you can do what I asked you to do, and you can tell me, well, I feel like this, and I listen. I'm open. But we just let them tell us no, or we don't even ask them. We just, well, I'm gonna take the garbage out. How the hell you had a long day, like somebody's kids talking about they need a vacation? Nigga, you 10 years old.
Who they get that from?
What job you get?
But
they
get that from? Right. See, that's what I'm saying.
They married or they daddy.
They want to be their friend. They want to be their friend. Now, like I said, I can't speak on a woman's behalf, but in my mind, even the worst type of man ain't gonna stand for certain shit. What my concept about women is, women's gonna operate from their heart. They're gonna be more emotional. They're gonna be more with the feelings.
But think about your mom. Think about your mother. But think about your mother raising you. Because I think about my mama raising me. And my mama was slap five. My mother hit me more than my daddy did.
Mine too. But see, my mother, she was more tactful than my dad was. My dad, like, he was just, he didn't, like, say, my mother would do all the ass whooping, just like with your mother. My dad, every blue moon, you have to really fuck up to get a whooping with him. He was big, he was buff and shit, he's a big dude. So, he didn't do all that. But my mother, yes, she would do it. So you think that you can get one over, and it wasn't like how I was thinking, but if you thought you could pull it with her, nah, she not having that. But my mother to this day was always about discipline and respect. I've heard people my age curse in their mother's presence. I'm 42 years old. And the one time that I did it, I was in Hawaii. I was overseas in the military, and I didn't know it was my mother on the other end of this phone when I picked it up. And when I cursed, and I remember that conversation, I said, who the fuck is this? But you know what I'm saying? And I was like, oh, Mom, I'm so sorry. I'm so It's a respect thing. It's a respect thing. And so these kids were not
I've done that.
Respect. See, it was a hierarchy. They're the parents, you're the child. Okay? And that's just the reality. Now it's a thing where we buddies. We cool.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Me and you kick it together. Like me and my mother, we ain't never been in no club together. Me and my father ain't never been in no club together. See what I'm saying? So that line has been set long ago. Well, with these new people, these new parents now, they don't establish that. And so the kids.
But I think too, like what you said, that there was a hierarchy. So, mama at 47, my mother's still not my contemporary. Like we ain't, we not gonna, like you said, we ain't hanging out no clubs together. We don't hang out like we're friends. Like she acknowledges that I'm an adult, but I also acknowledge that that's my mother. So if she tells me to shut the fuck up at 47, I'm gonna shut up, because ain't no arguing. If my grandma tells me to shut up, Alicia, be quiet, I'm quiet, because that's the way I've been raised. And my children have been raised like that. But like you said, you have these kids now that they interject, like, your mom sound like my mother. Like my mother had no filter. Like I remember my mother used to slap the shit out of us backhand. in the car. She be driving the damn car, slap shit out of all three of us at the same time. I don't know how she did it.
Set it straight.
But when my mother said, man, for real. And when she said something, like the one time, my father whooped us one time, and my father whooped us for fighting. For me and my brother, we were fighting each other. And my daddy whooped us with a switch. And that was the only time. And I think he cried. Like that really hurt his feelings. Talking about emotion. That hurt his feelings to whoop us. But he whooped our ass for fighting each other. My mother whooped your ass if you sneezed, if you didn't take a rain boost, if she told you to do something more than one, if you got loud with her, if you did something like my mother. I remember one time we were so scared of my mother. My grandmother came over to our house one day, and my grandmother used to have a key. She was checking on us. So this one day, my grandmother did not have a key, and my mother said, "You don't let nobody in this house, because whoever's supposed to be in this house got a key." We don't know that. My grandma came over there on the bus. Knocked on that door because she forgot her key.
Okay.
And she talks about that till this day. My grandmother's 83 years old. She talk about today how we would not let her ass in that house. And my mother, she had to call my mother at work. Because my mother, when I tell you my mother didn't play, my mother the first thing she would have did was come through that house and start whooping ass. And we knew it. So grandma, you can't come. We sorry, grandma, we love you. I felt like Bruce, we love you, but you can't come in like you. I'm not gonna get my ass whooped. And that's just how my mother, and my mother was a single parent. So she had 3 children, and my mother had 3 kids at 20. So you got 3 kids at 20 and you working, like you have to have like certain things. Like I thank God for my mother. My mother did the best she could, and my mother made sure we had the best of everything. But when I think about her life, like at 20 years old with 3 kids, my dad wasn't helping her. My dad was crazy as hell. He quit his post office job so he didn't have to pay child support. I remember my mother working 2 and 3 jobs. I remember my mother sewing her clothes or sewing my brother's suit. Like I remember all that shit. And just the effort, the effort and the care that you put into making your son Easter suits or making your son suits that, like my mother used to make suits that you thought when she put them on was store-bought. So you think about all that shit and all that care that you put into making sure that you and your children look nice. Like you don't look like what you've been through, or you don't look like what you really got going on. But that was that order and that structure. And we did shit. We didn't have absolutely, like I did all kind of wild shit, but I knew not to do it in front of my mother. And even like now, I joke with my mother, be like, I do drugs. Like, she know I do weed. I'd be like, hey, you want some weed? And we'll joke, but I know that that's my mother. And there's a boundary. There's a line that I don't cross because that's forever my mother. And they don't have that now. It's like, you can even sit and like, even my mother's friends, I still call them Miss such and such, Mrs. such and such. They're like, well, you call me by my name. No, ma'am, I can't, because, and my mama told him, no, she can't. She's real quick to tell him, I can't do that. And I'm a grown ass woman.
Right.
But I understand and I get it. And my kids do the same thing. Like even when my kids talk to my cousins, if they're older than them, cousin such and such, like they put a handle on everybody's name. They would call you Miss Kennard. My son is 24 years old, Miss Kennard. Yes, sir. No, sir. They don't say yeah and no. I've never allowed that because I wasn't allowed to do it. But you have these kids that interject in adult conversations. They feel like they have an opinion on everything. And they feel like they have a say and they have a vote in shit that they like, you don't even work. How you gotta vote on some shit that you can't even pay for?
They got the game pushed up.
And then they got these kids with they got these kids with all these fancy, like they going to prom. Why you got on Versace's? It's nice, don't get me wrong, but why? What do they have to look forward to? Like, what do you like? You don't need to have those things to look fly or be fresh. Like fresh is a whole mind state. You can throw on some thrift store shit and be flat, but you got all this stuff for these kids, and you expect them to do what after that? Because you talking about catching a bag, getting a bag. They got red bottoms on, they got Versace on. So when they get out of high school, what is there for them to aspire to?
Nothing.
And then they can't, more times than not, they can't even maintain that kind of lifestyle.
No, they can't, because 10 to 1, their mom and them bought it for them. She didn't went out
and they don't have a college, and they don't have college money either. So that's a caveat to that. They don't have money for them to go to college.
It's as good as it gets for them. They're gonna get a little prom thing. They're gonna get G'd up for prom and all this. They're gonna get the little cap and gown, yada yada yada. And then, okay, I'm 18, I'm out of school. Now what? Oh well, I don't want to work. So, well, I guess I'll just go on out here around the corner. That type of shit. But this is what I be saying is y'all invest all this money in their prom and they put a dime on their college tuition. not a dime. You ain't even got sense enough to start a GoFundMe to get their college going. Because it's always about the shine, the floss. It's always about looking good. And see, that don't do a goddamn thing. Now, to me, you done sold these kids out because you know what? You in your 40s or your 30s. Okay, you at where you where you want to be as far as I'm concerned, because you chose whatever it is you chose. But these kids, they only get what you give them. Okay, so what did you leave him? What did you give them coming out of high school? Nothing. But a false sense of entitlement. And see, a lot of those kids, they never make it to college. They never been on no dorm. They never goddamn it, have a functioning family, a fully functional family, because they was never guided into that. It's
Well, but
always
and I also
about
think that even if they do have like the functional family, like I think when they go to college, they're not being realistic. Like they think that they go to college and it's just I'm gonna be suited and zooted. Like it's a fashion show.
right.
And most college students don't have money like that. Like nigga, we eating at the chow hall waiting for boxes and care packages and stuff.
Straight
But
up.
in their mind, they like we gonna be Versace'd out or whatever, Jordans or whatever. And
Go right ahead.
even when you can't, like I remember I asked my son this like a couple months ago. I'm like, do you think that I gave you the best life that I could give you? Like, I'm thinking about his college and struggling to pay college, and he might have didn't always have the newest clothes and the newest kicks and shit. And I said, as a mother, that bothered me because I wanted him to have so much more.
Right.
And my son was like, no, I know that you did the best that you could for what you had. But that's who I raised. So that's something that me and his father, I didn't just raise him by himself. Let me take that back. That's something that we instilled in him. Like he understood that I'm taking care. Like I literally had my 2 kids and my niece and nephews. I was raising 4 kids by myself.
Mm-hmm.
And they were all like right behind each other. So even him having the insight to say, no. So he really don't like, my son don't give a shit about clothes and name brand. Like he like something, I think he like Jordans. Like he likes some Jordans, but he likes what he likes, but it's not the normal stuff. Like he likes black creators, so clothing creators. He'll find something strange. He likes anime and stuff. And I think that that's so dope.
Yeah, because that's that's the thing is that if your kid doesn't base his whole life around a dollar sign, then that speaks volumes to me about the mother and about the parents. It's because of the values that they instilled in him, because there's so much more to life than money or looking like you got money. See, that's
even giving a fuck about what people think about you. Like he don't give a shit. Like I'd be like, dude, he be like, Mom, I don't care. He don't care.
That's a great level of confidence that a lot of people do not have and wasn't taught to have. And see, once you have that confidence, man, you could go out here and you can function in any society. Once you have that level of confidence. But see, with the hood, with the black neighborhoods, it's like, oh, you gotta look like bread, you gotta look like money. This is all they fuck with. But once you get outside of that, it's a whole big,
I don't think so. Because I grew up in the hood. But I think that's the advantage of sending your kids to HBCUs, because we don't look like, and we don't do things like each other. So like you said, like everybody ain't wearing, my son, he grew up on 79th. He was a military kid, but he also grew up on 79th, grew up in Chicago. My daughter did too. But they don't, he liked anime. He's been in love with anime forever. So he didn't fit what you would consider the typical profile. So when you go to the HBCUs and you see kids that, I don't even want to use the word weirdo because I hate that fucking term, because they're not weird. But when you see black kids that are not what the media portrays as typical black kids, they ain't into rap, or they even like rap, but they like other shit. Like all of that stuff matters, and that they need to see all of that, because you need to know that being black is not a monolith. Being black does not mean that you behave, act, or do certain things. Like you can actually be black and listen to, like, I love Two Extreme. Love them. Love some song from Guns N' Roses. I love Mick Jagger. Like and it's okay to like that.
Sure.
And that doesn't mean that you're not black because you like that shit. And so when you think about that and think about the stuff that our children, when they stay in those little bubbles, like you said, when you're just in that neighborhood, all you see is that neighborhood, and you assume that that's all that's there because that's what your world consists of. But when you step outside that bubble and see it's people that might be weird like you or what you consider weird, it's people out here to do the stuff that you do, to like the stuff that you like, right. and unapologetic. And like we should all be teaching our children to be unapologetically them. Like you don't have to have $500,000 shoes to be the shit. Like those shoes don't make you the shit. Like who you are as a human, being a dope ass human being makes you the shit. Like and we need to get back to teaching our children how to be good people.
Well, I mean, we can, it's just, I say do what you feel, or I say do what makes sense to you. That's the most important thing because it's your life. You're in the driver's seat. You can sit up there and you can follow whatever's popping. Like they got niggas out here now. I've been seeing these pictures floating around Facebook. Niggas is out here wearing booty shorts and shit now. You know what I'm saying? You got this little punk shit going on. You could go jump down with that, or you could just do your own thing and be you. And see the motherfuckers that really fuck with you, they're gonna ride with you. And the motherfuckers that's just on some trendy shit or whatever, they're gonna shun you. You know what I'm saying? Because that's the way it is. If you're gonna get ridiculed, you may as well get ridiculed for being who
you are. Right.
Right. You know what I'm saying? Because it's unavoidable. Throughout the course of your life, it's gonna be motherfuckers that fuck with you. It's gonna be motherfuckers that don't fuck with you. Hey, take all that shit with a grain of salt and just live.
You got to be okay with it all. You have to be okay with it all.
Right, because you can't control what a motherfucker think, but you can control how you feel about you.
Right, you know and even entertainment spaces, because I think that's another thing that they don't do is because motherfucker, because whoever cool, you don't have to let people in. Like I'm being on this now as I've gotten older. I don't entertain negative shit. Like real talk. Like I've like really gotten to this point. Like I swear I've always felt like that, but then the last couple of days, like I've really, and maybe in the last couple of weeks, which is probably why my best friend lost her brother. She was supposed to be taking him to the airport, and he's very punctual, didn't show up. Her son and her nephew go break into his house. They find him dead on his floor the day before her birthday.
Wow.
And she was just like she still tore up. And my biggest issue was like, man, I hope that I'm being a good friend to her. Like so every time she needed me to drive or she needed to use my car, she needed to go here, go there, I was there. But I always felt like she had so many people around her. I'm like, well, I'll forego that because she has other people there, and you don't need all them people there. And she need, like, I would see it, and I'm like, you need some rest. You need to go to sleep. You need to, eat, blah, blah, blah. And so I ended up having to drive her to the funeral. We went to the cemetery. Like anything that I could do for her that she, anything she told me that she needed, I pretty much did for her just because that was my friend. And I think that even friendship is lost on a lot of people because it doesn't require you to do anything. Like,